Recently, CAMMUS sent me their C5 wheel bundle to test out, and I've had the chance over the past few weeks to use it on a few different games. I just recently started playing LMU with my main wheel, the Fanatec GT DD Pro, and so I thought it was perfect for me to do a few races on that wheel and then install the CAMMUS and do the exact same races directly after as a comparison. Calibration and button assignments were simple, and the wheel itself has absolutely no shortage of buttons. While the in-game settings for LMU aren't exactly vast, the CAMMUS app was surprisingly easy to use. My main complaint as it stands is the lack of a PC app, or at the very least, I haven't been able to easily find one. However, I can't imagine the cross-section between sim racing enthusiasts and those who don't have smartphones to be a very large group. To my surprise, the app connected immediately, and rather than try to figure out settings myself, I found myself searching through the many shared presets within the social aspect of the app and got started. After doing a full practice, qualifying session, and race with my DD Pro, I swapped over and did this test session to ensure my settings were correct for my stream. It was extremely easy to set it all up, and I got in a good 5-hour session the next day, but before that, let's take a look at the benchmark I set with my DD Pro. I had only spent about a total of 9 hours on LMU, so I was still getting used to the physics and the game itself, but I was able to nail a pretty good quality in what I believe was the second split of the Bronze GT3 Daily. While I was still learning LMU, I luckily did know the track quite well, which helped me adapt pretty quickly. With all that said, I'm completely plowing past the apex here, so I guess I wasn't adapting that quickly. Starting in second place felt pretty good and helped ensure I had a clean start so I could focus on my pace and consistency, which would be two of the main focuses when moving over to the C5. A tight turn 1 is always a little scary in sim racing, especially when nowhere near the top of the competition, but I lucked out and got away cleanly, initially staying close to the leader. The entire race was essentially the same thing. I remained close to the leader without being able to actually pass him for the entire 20 minutes and was running in the high 21s and low 22s the entire time. This was valuable data. With that in mind, I then swapped over to the C5, tested it as you've seen, and went to sleep unsure exactly what to expect with the new CAMMUS. After having a fairly bad couple of races due entirely to driver error, I had warmed up enough that I was starting to feel used to the wheel itself. I found myself in the second split again, this time with another friend from GT7 who unsurprisingly nailed pole position. While I was certainly far from that, I was feeling much more used to the CAMMUS after only about an hour, and I was able to hit a quality time even faster than I had set the night before in my Fanatec.
Well, there we go.
When it comes to just hot lapping, I was feeling more and more confident, but the constantly changing conditions of the tires, fuel load, temperature, and track itself were still tough in general for me when it came to LMU, and it was important to be able to rely on the feedback given to me by the wheel to determine how I need to change how I'm driving. On top of that, racing wheel to wheel is absolutely another animal, as attacking and defending will change everything dramatically. If I can't trust my wheel, I can't trust my ability to race. After a very easy position gained on turn 1, I realized I was going to be fully within attacking distance of the two cars ahead, and the man whose position I took would certainly want it back. Negotiating Eau Rouge and Radeon were the least of my worries, and I felt myself immediately forgetting the fact that I was even on a different wheel. I had so much confidence, in fact, that I immediately wanted to attempt an aggressive move on the driver ahead, and the close proximity wasn't spooking me at all. Opting to instead play it safe and wait for a better opportunity, my goal was to just stick with the two ahead as long as I could while keeping my eye on the rear view to determine if I had to start defending. I had reviewed a wheel in the past and had spent time on both AC and iRacing, and never once through the 2 weeks I used it did I feel this confident. I've also spent time with much more expensive motion rigs at World of Speed in California and can liken my comfortability and trust in the force feedback to the same extremely high-end wheels they use down there. While the absolute immersion of those rigs can't be beat with really anything in my at-home rig, there is not a single bit of confidence they can give me beyond the high-end load cell pedals, but even with that, since my daily pedals are also just potentiometers, adapting to the basic 2-pedal setup in this bundle was not a concern any longer either. Given my 10 hours total on LMU at this point, and the new angles and positioning, as well as the feel of the new rig, it's hard to determine if any one thing contributed the most to a lack of overall pace, or if it was just a little bit of all of those, but by the end of the race, the leaders had gained quite a bit more space on me. At the end of that race, I had lost over 6 seconds to the leaders, but had gained nearly 3 on those behind. As I was just now getting super comfortable with the entirety of the setup in the game, I continued racing, but before that, I did want to note a few really interesting things. Firstly, my best lap with fuel and in race conditions was the same as my qualifying time on the DD Pro. Not only that, but one of the guys who had out-qualified me was multiple seconds behind. It was clear that despite a podium in the second split, my pace was continuing to improve.
I feel like I'm doing all right. I'd like to go much faster, though, to be quite honest.
In the very next race, during qualifying, I was feeling even better. After only an hour or so with the wheel, I was faster with the CAMMUS than I was with my own wheel I use every day. While I was certainly improving overall with the car and the physics of LMU, the fact that a wheel I had just started using wasn't at all getting in the way of such improvement was huge for me. I was well on my way to an even better lap, but ended up bottling it towards the end, but specifically because I tried to use Gran Turismo tactics and just lost too much time. Starting in second this time, and with my confidence in the wheel no longer a question, I was determined to be aggressive and really race like I meant it. There are many situations within the world of sim racing where you may face multiple challenges and puzzles to figure out, and I've always been a huge proponent of fighting a single battle at a time. For instance, if I'm playing a brand new sim, I'm going to try to at least drive on a track I know and try to use a car I'm familiar with. If I'm working on a new car, then I definitely choose a track I know, and if I'm working with new equipment, then I'd very much like to be able to drive a car, track, sim combination I am very familiar with, but since I spend so much time on GT7, that's rarely possible with new equipment, especially in the PC world. Once again, the fact that I was learning new physics with a new car and a familiar track with unfamiliar track limits on a brand new wheel and pedal setup meant that nearly everything was stacked against me, but the wheel itself never presented an issue. Herein lies the most important takeaway with this bundle. It's basic, it's absolutely zero thrills, it's even meant specifically for someone that doesn't even have a rig, but at this price point, especially for a direct drive wheel, there is simply nothing more you could ask for. I still remember my first 6 or 7 years of sim racing, where having a load cell seemed like I was light years ahead, but the thought of a direct drive wheel seemed so far-fetched I couldn't even imagine when I could get my hands on one. As much as technology and the world of sim racing have changed, a direct drive bundle barely over $300 is still a very, very good deal. Anyways, I digress. I had qualified second, which isn't quite good enough, and I wanted to push. For the most part, I had stayed within near striking distance, except for a few times where I got close and decided to remain safe as the race was still young. This time, however, with half of the race gone, I was going to give it my all. I had no excuses left, so I might as well use everything to the best of my abilities. Feeling comfortable enough that I could determine when I am actually on the limit, and staying there meant that it was only a matter of time before one of his mistakes was going to be enough for me to take advantage. Finally, P1. While the hardest work had been done, one cannot underestimate the difficulty and importance of maintaining composure while holding the lead, and I still had half the race to go. By the end of the race, not only was I able to maintain my pace, but I was able to push and gain nearly 4 seconds on the pole sitter. The C5 had not held me back, and was indeed just a filter through which my own experience could shine through, and that is exactly what you want and need in a sim racing wheel. While my experience with the wheel in LMU was brilliant, it's certainly not unheard of for a wheel to work perfectly in one sim while struggling in others. For instance, the old workhorse, the G29, is still enough to have at least a good experience on any PC sim, but specifically in GT7, the ability to detect and catch any oversteer is nearly non-existent. In the next couple of weeks, I'll be spending time racing people on the Toge and drifting in Assetto Corsa, and finally putting it through its paces in iRacing. After testing all three, I'll put together my thoughts and a final verdict for the wheel and condense it down into a final longish-term review. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you.